Hi Leo, Sun, Moon, Ascendant, or Venus. This is Dane, and I'm going to be doing your February 2021 full moon reading for you. Now I ask if this reading resonates with you, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also to subscribe to my channel. And if you would like to be notified whenever I upload new videos, and I upload all the time, just hit the bell notification button. And if you're interested in any of the cards that I'm using, they will be listed and linked in the description box below. Now, before I begin this reading and clear the energy space, once again a reminder not to be scammed by anybody in the comment box pretending to be me offering you a reading. I will not be soliciting you for anything, and that person is a scammer. Do not be scammed. Now, with that said, let us clear the energy space, raising our own energy vibration and releasing any negativity. So take a nice deep breath in, exhaling whenever it feels comfortable for you. Releasing all negativity from the body like storm clouds. Letting yourself feel calm, centered, and at peace as we enter into this safe and loving space. Now let's let the bowl sing as we see what the tarot has to say. Leo. How will Leo be affected by the February 2021 full moon? How will Leo be affected by the February 2021 full moon? How will Leo be affected by the February 2021 full moon? Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading and show me clearly. Angels and spirit guides. Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading and show me clearly. Angels and spirit guides. Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading and show me clearly. Angels and spirit guides. Angels. Fantastic. Now let's look at your chakra energy for this time. How will Leo be affected by the February 2021 full moon? How will Leo be affected by the February 2021 full moon? How will Leo be affected by the February 2021 full moon? Angels and spirit guides. Okay, these four, that's fantastic. So we're starting here with personal power. This is the solar plexus chakra. And we're going to see how this all correlates to the tarot. We have spiritual awakening, the crown chakra. Love, the heart chakra. And clarity, the third eye chakra. Now the left-hand side is our inner self. The middle is our heart or emotional self. The right-hand side, the public arena, the public self. King of Cups, water sign energy, Pisces, Scorpio, Cancer coming through. The new moon on the 13th of March is in Pisces, so that's going to be a very strong connection for you during this time. Also, if you're born on the cusp with Cancer, that part of your personality is going to be coming out a bit more. The Ten of Swords, the Star card, which is also Aquarius energy, time frame January 20th to February 18th. The Queen of Cups, oh, I love that. Whenever I have the King and the Queen from the same suit, from the same deck, it's a soulmate connection, a true love connection. It's a big shift. It's a big coming together. And this is in the area of love, of emotions. So that's awesome. You also, again, have that really brilliant connection with Pisces, with the new moon. Three of Pentacles, Two of Cups, Page of Wands, 10 of Cups. The repeat of the number 10, you're coming to the end of a cycle, and it's really quite freeing for you. The Five of Wands, the Sun, the Nine of Swords, and the King, and the Knight of Pentacles. Now, the full moon, and the full moon on the 27th of February, and then the next full moon on the 28th of March is in Virgo. So you have that connection here with being that warrior during this time, really seeing what it is that you want, going after what it is that you desire. There's also this sense of wanting things to be a lot calmer than they actually are. So you're going to be looking at things, and as soon as I said warrior, Spirit's like, oh, but they don't want to be warriors. And right after they said, you're going to be a warrior. So here you have that bit of a battle where you don't want to have any more battles. You're kind of done with it. But there is this sense here of stepping into power, stepping into understanding, and needing to really claim what is rightfully yours, needing to sit there and say, this is what I want, this is what I need, this is what I'm going after, and do so with this ferocity of spirit. Because the first thing we have here with the solar plexus chakra is your personal power coming forward. And what we see here is this sense of strength, is this sense of understanding, is a sense of being in alignment with yourself. Now, you might find, for some of you Leos, this is going to be absolutely true. You might find a bit of a purging going on. You're releasing so much. It's kind of like, when you take something out of your diet, or when you add in something that helps clear out like bad bacteria and everything like that, you have a die-off. And it can make you feel really sick, and your stomach really hurts, or you feel like you have a really bad cold, but it's just simply the bad things within you dying away. That's going to be so important for you during this time. You're embracing your powerful understanding, and you're going to see the bad things within your life kind of dying away, not all at once, but for some of you, you are going to feel that die-off within you, that just that sense of that purge, of what you no longer want. And there's a sense of real power within that. There's a sense of real truth, real understanding, real determination. And it leads you here to being crowned by spiritual awakening. It leads you to knowing yourself a bit more. It leads you to a healing. It leads you to a greater comprehension of what it is that you want, and where it is that you're headed, and what it is that you desire. And so this spiritual awakening opens up many doors and many avenues, has you looking at things so differently than before. So it takes your power, and it's like once the negativity washes away, and it doesn't, washes away is a bit of a strong imagery to use, because we always have our negativity with us. We always have our demons that follow us, our hurts and our pains, but they don't get to be forefront in our minds anymore. So that's what we're going to be seeing here, is that the hurts, the pains, the disappointments, the angers, the upsets, everything that we've gone through that has defined us, that has shaped us, that has forged us, isn't going to be in the forefront of our minds, isn't going to be, right there all the time trying to bring us down. And it moves us to this place of love, to this place of opening up the heart and saying, what is it that I love? What is it that I want? What is it that I need? How can I move forward? And what do I desire? And so the love opens in a way that kind of takes the breath away, in a way that has you seeing things more openly, more honestly than before, and has you connecting with your heart chakra in a very powerful way. So often we sit there and we think, I have to get this done. I have a list of things to do, kids, work, school, this, that, everything piles up, chores. And we forget to take time to just embrace what we love, to embrace the calm, to embrace the quiet, to sit in awareness. And that's a very powerful thing, to connect with our hearts and say, how am I feeling? And not wait for somebody else to say that to us, not wait for somebody else to ask, how are you feeling? but to say, how am I feeling? And how can I be proactive in opening up the doors of my life and moving forward in love and in harmony? And it brings us to clarity. It brings us to our third eye chakra opening up. And this clarity coming forward, this insight, these ideas, this connection with divinity and spirit, that's like, this is where you're supposed to be. This is what you've been working towards. And it leads you during this time to really looking at this full moon in Virgo and knowing that, yes, it brings you power. It brings you a connection to the divine and, this surrendering, saying, I know that there is more out there for me than what I myself can imagine. Because we're limited. We're limited by what we know. We're limited by the way that we perceive ourselves and others around us. But divinity is never limited. There is this sense of greatness around us that needs to be embraced. So this moon, this full moon in Virgo, even though it says you are good enough, it's also a discriminating moon. It is a moon where we tend to judge things a bit harshly. And that most definitely includes ourselves. So when we say discriminating, it's a very harsh word and it has very negative connotations. But it's kind of like no to this, yes to that. And it can be seen as a very good thing. You're very discerning, I would use, more than discriminating. But it's being very discerning with the energy that you let in. But we're also going to have a tendency during this time. And what's so frustrating is that everybody has this tendency of saying, I'm right, you're wrong. Like, this is what I want. I planned it out. I know how it looks. I know what I'm looking for. This is just the way it needs to be. But everybody has come to this conclusion one way or another. You might find that people are very flexible in one way of thinking, but when it comes to another way of thinking or perceiving things, they're going to be, dead set. Like, this is the way it is. It can't be any other way. So here, with the full moon in Virgo saying you are good enough, it is looking at things and saying, there's power, there's healing, there is beauty within me. Where I am right now is exactly where I need to be. And there's a lesson here, there's an insight here that is really quite important. And so as we open up that door, instead of feeling patronized, instead of feeling as if, oh, I'm good enough, I can't rise any higher, it's like, no, I'm exactly where I need to be in this moment. And we also find ourselves really desiring to be as helpful as we can possibly be. Now, of course, we all have these tremendously, preconceived notions of how things can go. So the helpfulness kind of mixed in with the judginess can be a bit harsh that we have during this time. So just be mindful of that. We're going to be very inclined to see what we want to see, okay? So during this time, it's really important to keep an open mind because we're also going to be very nostalgic. Say, oh, things were better when, or if only I was here in my life, like going towards the future, then things would be better. We also have to stay grounded in the present. Harmony and balance, they're going to be a little bit hard to find during this time. We're going to be questioning what we find harmonious. We're going to be questioning what we find balancing. And you know what? That's okay. But during this time, we're also going to find that we have this tremendous optimism. It's like, okay, I might not feel always in harmony with myself, always as balanced as I want to, but I know better days are coming. The trick is to make those days, the desire for the better days, the future days, part of your today. To be in the present, to sit there and even just carve out one good thing that happened. So instead of going to bed completely frustrated, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, I mucked this up so much, or, that this person was so just irritating. We go to bed sitting there and saying, well, I know what I'm changing for tomorrow. I know what I'm looking towards. I know the greater extent of what I desire. During this time, it's going to be hard to get our points across. We're going to be thinking things, wanting to, share them with everybody and sitting there and saying, oh, well, and we're going to think I'm making myself so totally clear. But what happens is that it doesn't come across the way that we always intend it to. So you might sit there and be like, wait a minute, I explained this perfectly. Why don't you understand? So we might find it a bit tricky to make ourselves as understood as we think we are in our heads. So just be mindful of that. Also know that the signs that are the most affected during this time are Virgo and Pisces. So if you have Virgo or Pisces within your chart, if you're born on a cusp with Virgo, that comes out very prominently during this time. So those aspects of your personality are going to come out more powerfully than others. Also, the earth sign energies are going to be kind of favored during this time, not in a way that we should be jealous about, but in a way that if you, again, have earth sign energy, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn within your chart, there's a regeneration, there's a greater efficiency to them. So those elements are going to come across much more powerfully, because it's going to be like, well, we need to get the job done. We need to get things moving forward. We are fueled for things to change. So just be mindful of this during the full moon in Virgo, because as much as this is a time where, the Virgo energy within the tarot is represented by the Hermit, as much as we look into things more deeply, as much as we're going to be introspective and contemplative, there's also going to be this little tug of war with the outside world, getting ourselves fully understood and where we stand right now. So be aware of that, Leo. It moves us then to the new moon on the 13th of March. And the new moon here says beginnings, and a new start is coming. And what we are moving towards is something bigger, something new, something freeing. But what we, again, have to be careful of with this moon and with this time is that we are seeking out what we believe. It's kind of like when you're trying to prove something, okay? Or when you're researching something. Excuse me. And when you're researching, you're not supposed to have a goal in mind. You're supposed to sit there and say, this is my hypothesis. Where does the knowledge take me? What can I prove and what can't I? And it's not kind of catering things to preconceived notions. So during this time, that's what's going to be so important, is not catering what you are seeing, what you are researching, what you are developing within your life to preconceived notions. It's sitting there and kind of keeping an open mind and saying, where will this take me? What if new ideas come my way? How will this move me forward? And it brings us to meditation and contemplation. It brings us to this place, especially with your crown chakra and your third eye chakra coming forward with spiritual awakening and clarity. When you quiet your mind and embrace the avenues of power that you have this clarity, you have this contemplation, you have this understanding coming forward. Now, with meditation and contemplation, a practice I've been incorporating into my life, and relatively recently, has been simply breathing through my nose. And I found it life-changing. It's calmer, it's quieter. I can stay more focused, more centered. I don't get as mad, which I think is insane. But I simply breathe through my nose. And I find it almost like walking in meditation. By breathing through your nose, it clears your mind. And I don't know why, and I don't know how. And I have things linked in the description box below about breathing, about vitamin D, gut health, all this stuff. So they're really quite extraordinary to listen to. So here, if you just practiced breathing through your nose, closing your mouth, and breathing through your nose, there's a peace that comes over you. And if you can't do it, that's one thing. But even if it's just a little bit difficult, you'll find that it starts to open up the airways. It starts to reshape the inside of your face, which is awesome. And it's powerful. So here, it's embracing that power in something as simple as kind of closing our mouths and letting the air come through our nose. And isn't that something that we all need in our world right now? For everybody to close their mouths and just be in the present, be in the healing, be in the now. That's so important and so overlooked. Now, during this time, okay, the spirit animal for February is the otter spirit. And I know we're only in February for like a hot second before we move into March, but this is the spirit animal that has been watching over us. This is that energy that is a part of us during this time. And it says we're never alone. And you might find that statement has been challenged. You might find that you felt alone, you felt overwhelmed, you felt, kind of out in the cold at times. But here, it's like you are always connected with divinity and spirit. You are always empowered and emboldened in a way that you can't imagine, because there is this sacredness on your side. And if we start to awaken to that sacredness, to that coming together, to that power, we can start really being empowered by brilliant truth. And so the otter spirit says to stop swimming against the current and to embrace the joy within our lives And as we're embracing the joy within our lives, and we see this here within your heart chakra, there's the unity that comes in. There's the power that comes in. And it's awareness of the subconscious, of what we usually sit there and just don't pay attention to within ourselves. We are now shifting gears, paying attention to it, and being empowered by it. It leads us to the spirit animals of March, which I absolutely adore, which are the wolf spirit and the whale spirit. So the whale spirit says, trust in the great mysteries. The wolf spirit says, turn knowledge into wisdom. So with the whale spirit is the record keeper of the earth, okay? That's what that spirit animal represents. It represents the records of the earth, the memory of the earth, the memory of all consciousness. And it's telling us here to listen to our inner voice, also to listen to our vibrational truth, okay? To raise the energy vibration. And if you've stumbled across this channel, if you've, been watching these videos, you're on a different path than everybody else. You're seeking something more fulfilling than what the world simply has to offer us. And so, or what we're told the world has to offer us. So here, trusting in the greater mysteries is raising that energy vibration, is looking at things more openly, more honestly for ourselves, and connecting with the power of our emotions. We're connecting with that vibrational energy. It's kind of like, okay, how am I vibrating today? And I know that sounds really odd, but it's how is my energy moving forward? How am I harmonized with my world around me? And some days you just wake up and you're not harmonized. You don't feel good. You're tired. You're overwhelmed. There's so much to do. Nothing stops. And yet it seems like one day graze into the other. And it's like, oh my goodness. So here, it's just being very mindful of your connection with the world and of your connection with yourself. And that really puts you in the place of love, where your heart chakra is speaking to you right now. It's like, open up love for yourself, for what you desire. And then the wolf spirit, where you turn knowledge into wisdom. The wolf spirit has astoundingly sharp intellect and deep connection with the world around it, okay, but also with the people around it, with its own energy. So here, as we're embracing the wolf spirit, as we take the knowledge that we have accumulated over our lifetime, we turn it into wisdom. We turn it into greater understanding, greater truth. And it brings us here to saying, I want a deeper connection with the world around me. I want a deeper connection with the people around me, because we're very aware that we need this connection, okay? But we're also very aware of our place within the world at this time, our place within the hierarchy of the pack. And we have this strong need for freedom and to listen to our instincts. So that's really quite beautiful, the sense of connecting with the earth, of having this empowerment move us forward. Because you start off with the King of Cups. And what I love about the King of Cups is that in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, he is a king simply ruling himself. He is out there on this little island with a chair. And you're like, who the heck could you rule? And yes, it's implied that he's ruling others. But he is first and foremost a king of himself. And that's why we have the empty chair here out at sea. We are first and foremost needing to pick up that crown, needing to pick up that cup, that, trident, there we go, and be the rulers of ourselves, to embrace our power, to embrace our understanding. We can't get anybody to do what we want them to do. They don't just obey kind of like sheep, right? But it would be nice sometimes if they did. I'm just thinking of my nephew who, will be 2 in a couple of months. And he is so strong-willed. And he, sits there and you have to reason with him. And it's so funny. You have to sit there and say, well, if you do this, this will happen. If you do this, this will happen. You can make that choice. But either way, we're following through. And it's the same way with people. You have to sit there and say, this is the action, this is the consequence, this is what happens. And so nobody just follows us because they want to follow us, or do what we say because they want to. And if it's not true for somebody who isn't even 2 yet, it's definitely not true for people who are older. They're just better at hiding, what they feel, or, what they think about you. So here, it's that connection and saying, I can only rule myself. The only power that I have is over the cause and effect of my emotions, of what I say I'm going to do, of how I conduct my own self. And so here within your inner self, you have the King and the Queen of Cups. And this is a time where you're really looking at, you really look at that follow through, Leo. That's what Spirit keeps on saying. You're really looking at how you are moving forward and what you want from your life and what it is that you desire. And that starts to open doors for you. That starts to change the game because you're taking that crown, you're putting it on your head. You're saying, this is what I desire, this is what I want. And it has you looking at the person that you once were. But it also has you looking at all the pain, all the hurt, all the disappointment that you have been through. And it's sitting there and saying, okay, listen, I get it. I get that things have fallen apart. I get that I have changed. If we think of the person we were 10 years ago to the person that we are now, it's a substantial amount of time. We're not the same. Even if we're kind of the same, we're still not the same. And so here with the 10 of Swords, it's realizing the difference between who you are now and who you once were. And my goodness, I just did that, really saw the person I was and the person I am now. And they're night and day. And I knew that, but for some reason, just in this moment with Spirit, it came across so much more strongly than it has before. And here, there's a sense of looking at every single hurt, pain, disappointment, despair that you have had within you, that you have gone through. And it's sometimes a big sword, it's a little sword, it's pain. It's pain that brings us to our knees. It's pain that falls us onto the ground. It's the darkness before the dawn. And that darkness can be so intense. But you're seeing the resurrection of self. You're seeing the power of understanding. You're rising to your power. You're rising to your truth. And as you do so, there's a new dawn that comes. Now, you're very connected with the spirit world during this time. So if you have loved ones that have passed, if you just even meditate to your angels and your spirit guides, there's this connection that kind of guides you, that sits there and says, oh, well, you should think of things this way, Leo, and you should look at things more like this. There's going to be this hand of comfort around you. So don't ignore it. Don't ignore it. Let it kind of guide you forward. And when you get really frustrated, just kind of go back into your sacred space, into yourself, into your soul, and let that comfort come forward. Because what you have here is you have the star. And the star is the highest form of man's perfection. Our ancestors looked up at the night sky and they mapped their world. They told their legends, they built the pyramids to them. The stars are highly important. And so here, when we look at the star, when we look at the stars within the sky, our sky, we look at the jewels that are so far away. We look at the fact that what we're seeing does not exist anymore. And there's something beautiful to that. The stars are the brightness within us. They're the beauty that is always just out of reach. They're us striving for betterment within our lives. This is also divinity looking at the highest form of our perfection, of what it is that we greatly desire, and forging us to this point. You could see for so many of us, and for some of us still, and for many more, we're still in that place of developing and becoming and seeing and understanding and, and moving forward. And we're still growing, right? So we have this resurrection, but we also know that there are going to be many more resurrections to come. There are going to be many more changes within our lives. And this is divinity saying, what is it that you most greatly need? It's not what you want. It's not that easy. But it's what is it that you most greatly need? And how can that empower you? How can that embolden you? How can giving you what your heart truly needs within this life bring you to the next level? So expect this along the way to kind of get this curveball thrown into your life, or have divinity answering what is sacredly needed for you, but you might not see it right away. And that's why the Queen of Cups comes into play. It's like you're holding this gift, you're cherishing what it is that you love. And walls start to tumble. Doubts and fears and negativity and angers and upsets, they start to clear. You start to see much more clearly, much more positively, much more powerfully where it is that you want to stand. You're living now, not for everybody else. And this isn't saying, run away from your responsibilities, join the circus type of thing. This is saying, look at where you want to be, and don't forget that you matter. So often we have a tendency, especially as giving sensitive people, to sacrifice ourselves, to say, oh, I'll just keep on, trudging along. I'll just keep on adding more and more and more onto my shoulders until we snap. Here, it's looking at the power of what you're carrying. It's looking at the truth of who you are and seeing yourself open to this world powerfully, brilliantly, and truthfully. It moves you to a place of looking at all that you have created and letting it illuminate your way. People will want to take credit for what you have become, okay? For your successes. That's just human nature. That's what people like to do. They like to sit there and say, I did this. I made you who you are. Yes, there are some people who have truly helped. And those are never the people we are kind of annoyed with when they say, I did this. It's the people that were so challenging that, they might sit there and think, oh, well, I really helped you. But they were also such a trial, such a tribulation, such an intensity that was not needed. And so here, with the Three of Pentacles, it's looking at the beauty, the prosperity, and everything that you have built within your world, and seeing the way that it illuminates your existence, seeing the way that you move forward. And it brings you to this place of unity, this place of connectivity with your world and what you want and where you're headed. It also brings you to this connection with your angels and your spirit guides. It's so important during this time. And it's important for you to be able to, step into your greatness, to look at what it is that you desire, this sense of healing, this sense of love. I mean, this is the Minor Arcana Lovers card. And you're embracing this love, this passion, this power, this truth. And it moves you, this healing, this looking at the road that you've had and the bumps and the hurdles along the way, and the healing to what you desire. And it has you being a student of your passion, of your heart, of what it is that gets you out of bed in the morning. Because for so many of us, what gets us out of bed is that we have to get out of bed. You can't stay in bed all day. There are, people to be taken care of, dogs to be walked, everything like that, chores and work and everything, they just pile up. But the Page of Wands reminds us to be a student of our passion, of what's truly important to us, of our fire, of our understanding, of our truth. And that opens up doors. It's looking at things more honestly. It's looking at what we desire very succinctly and saying, how do I let this light, this torch, guide me forward? And it brings us to a place of love. Because with the wand, with the magic, with, again, the torch being lit and guiding our way, at the root of our hearts, we start to see that it's to fall in love with life. And you might say, okay, well, that's so easy. Well, no, it's not. If it was so easy, everybody would do it. Everybody would just be so gosh darn happy they couldn't stand it. But that's not our world. Most people are so sad. They can't see a way out of it. So with the Ten of Cups, there is a sense of really embracing your idea of the happily ever after. Your connection, your love, your understanding, your truth, your emotional power. And that's different for each and every one of us. Some people, absolutely love living in the city. I have a brother. He loves living in the city. I am more of a country girl. I like the quiet and, being able to see rabbits outside and hear owls hoot and everything like that. That makes me very happy. Did I know that made me very happy right off the bat? No, I had no idea. But there's a calm there. And so everybody's happiness is different. We might sit there and want to use the same words and use the same words to kind of talk about it and configure it. But it's very personal. And as we start walking forward and as we're embracing our hearts, we see that it's a personal love, a personal happiness, a personal triumph, a personal, joy that starts coming in. And instead of looking at what the world wants us to have or how the world wants us to have it, let's just connect with our hearts for a moment and say, this is what I love. And this is how I am moving forward in my life. It brings us in the public arena to really looking at the challenges, Leo. At the Five of Wands, this is chaos, this is anger, this is upset, this is, being pulled in 500,000 different directions, kind of thinking if I could just clone myself is really what I see with this card. It's like, if I can get this all done. But it's also chaos for the sake of chaos. It's stepping back and saying, what's truly important? What do I need to focus on? Where do I want to give my attention? And it's kind of sifting things out internally that way. Externally, it's saying, no, I'm not getting involved in this. I'm not getting involved in the chaos, because you'll be pulled down that path and it just won't stop. You'll just keep being pulled down the path of chaos, the path of doubt, the path of fear, the path of being overwhelmed. And so once you're looking at this and once it's named, it's like, I'm not getting involved in this pettiness. You move towards your sun. And that's one of the reasons why the pettiness is around you, is because you're embracing the happiest card in the whole entire deck. You're embracing the illumination of self and soul and desires and insights. And people are going to be jealous about it. People are going to sit there and say, why is your path so lit? Why is there such beauty around you and not that around me? And so they're going to want to steal away your happiness or take it away from you. Some will want it for their own, to take credit for everything that you've done. And others will want you just not to be happy, so they'll rain on your parade. Here, it is looking at the passion and the beauty within your world and saying, I'm holding on to this, because you then have the Nine of Swords, which is nightmares coming forward. It's kind of like when you have something that's really good happening, and you sit there and you're like, wow, this is awesome. I'm happy. I'm contented within my life. I know my peace. And then all the nightmares come up. Yeah, well, it isn't conventional. It isn't the way everybody else does things. Yeah, but look at what you're still missing. And look at this and look at that. The nightmares come. And they're going to want to rob it away. And that's part of the battle you have during this moon, is to sit there and say, this is what I want. This is who I am. Keeping an open mind, not letting harmony and balance fall away from you. Okay? Finding that balance within yourself. And then not letting the nightmares come in and say, no, but you can't have this. Your optimism, okay, is radiant, is absolutely gorgeous. But you've had so much thrown at you. You've had so much pile upon you. And so with the Nine of Swords, it's sitting there and it's kind of addressing the fears. Not kind of, it's addressing the fears. And I know it sounds odd to name it, to have a conversation, give that fear a face and say, well, what if? What if I don't? What if that fear is always around me? What if I don't live up to that expectation? And you talk with that fear. And it's like, well, what if this fear happens? What happens to me then? Do I completely crumble apart? But also, is this fear holding me back from something, have an underlying issue, okay, that needs to be addressed in order to free me? Because once we see our fears, once we talk to our fears, we can be freed. It's not that they completely go away, okay? But it's that they don't have that crippling, I can't breathe, kind of panic attack feel about them. Because we're talking to them. We're understanding where our fear, where our doubt, where our chaos is coming from. And so with the Nine of Swords, like, let's say you really want to meet somebody. You really want to have that beautiful, committed relationship. But the fear comes in and says you'll never have it. You're too old, you're too this, you're too that, you never have it. We usually do this by age. And I don't know why. Well, I do know why, but I think it's silly. And we have that fear come over us and it grips our hearts. It sits there and makes us freeze. And what if you looked at that fear and said, what if that's true? And I know you're all sitting there going, no, Dane, that can't be. But what if that's true? Would it ruin your life? Would happiness be completely robbed away? And why is that happiness contingent on somebody else? If we look at that fear and say, why am I afraid of not meeting somebody? I mean, we see the most atrocious people with partners all the time. And it's like, they met somebody. Why can't I? And so here, we connect with that fear. And then we connect with the underlying issue of it, where it's I'm afraid to be vulnerable, or I don't want to be alone. So it's first having to learn to be alone with ourselves, having to learn to be vulnerable and to be open and to let things go that have broken our hearts and that we keep around just like a little sliver of glass that just cuts us all the time. And the Nine of Swords are the nightmares, the fears, the doubts. And then it's the realization that I don't have to live in a nightmare. And that's when you become the warrior of your prosperity. That's where you sit there and say, I'm letting in the bounty. I'm letting in the abundance. I'm moving forward slowly and steadily, because it's not an overnight kind of success type of thing. I'm moving forward slowly and steadily towards my bounty, towards my truth, towards my abundance, and nothing can stop me. My foundation is made of rock, solid, beautiful rock, not sand. And I'm moving to a truth, to a place, into a brilliance that just takes my breath away. And it might not be, Leo, what you had originally had planned, but it is. And it does bring forward a love and a contentment that is exquisite and very rare within this world. So let's see what the moon has to say. How will Leo be affected by the February 2021 full moon? How will Leo be affected by the February 2021 full moon? How will Leo be affected by the February 2021 full moon? Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading and show me clearly. Angels and spirit guides. Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading. How will Leo be affected by the February 2021 full moon? How will Leo be affected by the February 2021 full moon? How will Leo be affected by the February 2021 full moon? Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading and show me clearly. Angels and spirit guides. Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading. We have resistance, protection, and acceptance. Will, you're very close to achieving your goals. The end of a tough cycle approaches. Don't let your past hold you back. A fiery climax approaches. Emotions run high. Oh, I like that. I like that. Okay. So we have here this resistance, right? So we have the fist crushing, and that's the same imagery used in the personal power that's coming through. So you have this fist coming up. It's like this success. And it's everything that grows, that the world tried, not you tried, but that the world tried to take away from us, right? That we sat there and thought, oh, I couldn't do this. Like, oh, I have to hold too tight. Or, oh, I can't move forward this way. And we're going to see it start to grow from between our fingertips. Like, it's starting to come forward. And even though we thought, oh, this could never be, there's power there. There's beauty there. Something has grown when we didn't even expect it, when we didn't even realize it. And it's because we are protected. And it's as you moved into this kingliness, it's as you saw the dying away of your old self, and it brings you to this place of passion and truth and understanding and brilliance, and this place of deep soul's desires as you are, simply protected. And there's an acceptance that comes forward, an acceptance to who you are, to where you want to be, to the world around you, to what you are nourishing and loving and desire. And your will, oh my goodness. Leo, your will is always tremendous. But during this time, as you're looking at what it is that you've created, as you're looking at the way the light shines on you, the possibilities shine on you, the love, the passion, the truth shines on you, you look at the unity of yourself, you look at the coming together. And it's kind of like you start to see that your will, maybe things have changed, like maybe what you want has changed. But you are on this journey for a reason. And the healing that comes, the power that comes, the clarity that comes opens up your world. And it brings you to you being very, and I have to say, because it's like, just like this weight is lifted off. It's like you're very close to reaching goals, to becoming the student of your passion, to sitting there and putting the puzzle pieces together. And it's like you've gotten a puzzle that was all like this. It's like all like crystally white, gray, variants. But still, it's like you've gotten a puzzle of what, fog? Like, it's hard. And so here, you're very close to reaching your goals. You're very close to puzzling things out, to seeing the way certain things fit. Not everything, okay? But certain things. And it's like when you get something that fits, you get something that kind of clicks together, and you're like, oh, that's it. And that empowers you. And then you're like, oh, well, that's it. And then that empowers you. And it's little bits of things that start to come together that make the most profound and brilliant difference. And the end of the tough cycle approaches. Why? Because you're embracing love and happiness and success and prosperity. So the end of the tough cycle comes. And it brings you to not letting the past define you. So often we live in the past. And what I love about what Eckhart Tolle wrote is that our past is our pain bubble. Our past is simply pain. And I read that and I thought, that's odd. And I had read that before and it didn't compute at all. And now this time when I reread his book again, it was like that pain bubble is something that is very powerful, because the past, it's done. And even if you're remembering the most wonderful day of your past, it's still over. It's still done. I sit there and I love to think about my grandparents. They were such an integral part of my existence. And it's still, it makes me sad. It's like bittersweet. It's these beautiful, happy memories. But they're always going to be a little bit sad, because they're always over. They'll never come again. And so here, when we're fighting with the world and we're looking at all the chaos, right? And sometimes this is just fighting for the sake of fighting. To embrace the sun is to sit there and say, I'm done. I'm done with the past. I'm done with how this is defined. I am walking into my truth and my power, my understanding. And it's to be in the present. Because the present, as cliche as it sounds, it is a gift. We live either for the future. I used to do that all the time. I used to live for the future. Oh, things will be better when, things will be better when. And not for the present, because the present was sad. It was depressing as all heck. And it was sad and it would make me cry. So I didn't want to live for the present because it was hurtful. But if I lived for the future, it was my escape mechanism. So here, it's saying now, it's like, look at your present. Have goals for the future. Work like heck. Make those goals, like, have pictures of them in your mind, up on the walls all the time. If your present is so hurtful that it's hard to be in it for too long. But don't live for the delusion of the future, because we don't know how that's going to be. But see it as light. When you have a really good memory, and when you remember it, it's always brighter. It's always bright. And you could have a really bad memory, and it could be in the middle of a sunny day on a beach, and it's still going to be a little bit gray. Surround yourself with light. Surround yourself with that passion, with that beauty. And don't let your past hold you back. Don't let yourself live in that past, in that hurt, or in that future. Let yourself be here now. And let the sun shine brightly on you. And it moves you then to the fiery climax approaches. It moves you to this stubborn, brilliant truth of this is what I want, this is where I'm headed, the nightmares don't get to be here, I get to break through them. And it brings your emotions out beautifully. Your emotions run high. You embrace joy as you fight for what it is that you truly want. Now it moves you to your subconscious Luna message, which is boundaries. Creating firm, powerful boundaries really, really helps you. Okay? That's going to be so important for you, Leo, during this time. And then it moves you to luck being on your side, taking aim towards the bigger picture, towards what it is that you truly want. It leads you then to your subconscious chakra message, which is abundance. At the root of you, because this is the root chakra, there is abundance. And it's letting that abundance flow. And remember, it doesn't mean multi-million-dollar houses and, being on television. It means an abundant prosperity for your soul, a sense of peace and alignment, of truth, and of power, of inner power, inner strength, inner beauty. And then it brings you to your subconscious tarot message, which is perspective. This is the Hanged Man. You're seeing things so differently now. The perspective has changed. Your first instinct is going to be, I'm wrong. You're not. Here we walk forward, knowing that we see things differently. We're empowered, we're emboldened. We embrace this truth. And because we see things differently, it shakes up our world. But that difference, it brings profound understanding. So don't let the world tell you you're wrong. You're just different. And there is nothing wrong with that. All right, Leo. I hope this reading has resonated with you. I wish you nothing but light, love, peace, and happiness. May harmony always be with you. I am sending loving, healing energy to each and every one of you. I love you all, and stay safe. Let's end this reading with a meditation, a clearing away of negative energy, a raising of our positive energy as you move forward, an acceptance of self. As you move forward, leaving the past behind, and not striving always for the unknown, but being in the present and embracing your heart, your soul, your actions, your truth, to let peace guide you, and to let love be the apex of your existence. So take a nice deep breath in, exhaling whenever it feels comfortable for you. May you move forward in peace and in harmony, Leo, and may you have a blessed moon.